And good morning, everyone, and namaste. This is Hindu Lounge. We apologize for being late today. We had some technicals and we are coming in about 10 minutes late. Hindu Lounge, as you know, that we come live every Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific, almost always. Sometimes or the other, we have technical difficulties or the other things, which we should not be having. This is our 83rd episode, so we should not be having those difficulties. But as Murphy laws must go, if something is going to go wrong, it will, right? So with that, I welcome everyone to Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is brought to you by Hindu Pact. Hindu Pact is the policy research and advocacy initiative of World Hindu Council of America or VHPA. At Hindu Lounge, we talk about contemporary American Hindu issues, and we come live, as I said earlier, at around 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific, and corresponding times everywhere else. Um, and with me, as always, I am Ajay Shah, by the way. I am the president of World Hindu Council of America, and with me always, as always, is Utsada, who is Utsav Chakrabarti. Utsav Chakrabarti is the executive director of Hindu Pact. And Utsada, welcome to Hindu Lounge. And Utsada, today is a very somber occasion and a very somber show. We are going to talk about the passing of an era, not just a passing of an individual, but passing of an era. We're going to talk about the passing of Dr. Mahesh Mehta, who was the founder of World Hindu Council of America or VHPA. Uh, so that he passed away just a few days ago, the earlier this week, and I don't even know where to start with talking about Dr. Mehta or Mahesh Bhai, as we called him affectionately. It brings up a lot of memories. We go back, many years. I remember, uh, meeting Mahesh Bhai first in 1984, and as we talk more about, as we get more into the show, we will talk about Mahesh Bhai, some more. Utsada, before we go forward, I'll give you a minute to just kind of welcome everyone. And then we have a special guest today. We have Gaurang Bhai Vaishnav. Gaurang Bhai worked on all the Hindu work that we do in America. Gaurang Bhai from the very beginning worked with Mahesh Bhai, and Gaurang Bhai was is currently the member of the advisory board of VHPA. Prior to that, he was executive vice president of VHPA, and before that, he was the general secretary of VHPA for a very long time. And Gaurang Bhai has worked for VHPA for close to 50 years. And so, right from the beginning, from when Mahesh Bhai started VHPA, and we'll get into all of that and the history and a little bit about Mahesh Bhai's background. But first, over to you for a minute or two of introduction, and then if you can, and then we'll invite Gaurang Bhai to join us. Okay. So over to you, Soda.
Thank you, Ajay bhai, and namaste, everybody. Our apologies for having some trouble with the computer. Ajay bhai has to single-handedly manage a lot of things, so it happens on the occasion. Uh, but we are here, as Ajay bhai said, on a very somber occasion, and even though I personally I haven't met Mahesh bhai Mehta because I'm a late comer to the World Hindu Council of America, Vishwa Hindu Parishad bandwagon, but I have known about him and his everything that Mahesh Bhai Mehta did for the Hindu community in America. So, 100 years down the road, if there would be the top five people who we should all remember, Mahesh Bhai Mehta would be one of them for the service he has done to the Hindu community around the world, especially in America. So I would give it back to Ajay Bhai and Gaurang ji for speaking more about Mahesh ji.
And with that, let me welcome Gaurang Bhai. Gaurang Bhai, you are on now, and we can see your video, and we can see you. So Gaurang Bhai, welcome to Hindu Lounge. Uh, I know that we have We wanted to have you on the show for a while. We generally don't have guests ever in the show, except on a very rare occasion. But I wish we had invited you for a much more much more joyful kind of occasion, and to talk about some of the things where you have a lot of passion on and interest on. Just for everyone who doesn't know, Gaurang Bhai was also the editor of Hindu Vishwa, and he is also currently the executive vice president of Global Indians for Bharat Vikas, another organization that Mahesh Bhai founded and inspired. So, Gaurang Bhai, welcome to Hindu Lounge, and you have worked with Gaurang Bhai for many, many decades. So please tell us about your memories, and about how let's start from the beginning. When did you first meet Mahesh Bhai, and what were your experience, and how did he inspire you to join VHPA?
Uh, Thank you, Ajay Bhai. Namaste. Um, yes, since my by passing on 14th of this month, uh, as if there is a movie rewinding in my mind all the time, and I thought it's true of many of us, of several experiences that we have had with working with Mahesh Bhai. In my case, I can say without exaggeration that I am what I am today, and my life was molded by Mahesh Bhai and Manya Singalji. I met Mahesh Bhai when I was very new in this country, back in 72, almost 50 years back, by chance only at a common friend's place in Hartford, Connecticut. And Mahesh Bhai that time was in his prime of his life, 36 years old. And he's talking passionately about issues of Bharat at that time. And in his talk, Jansangh, RSS came up a number of times. I didn't have any background about RSS or VHP, etc. So I was intrigued, and I asked him a number of questions, and he answered them. Not that I was agreeing with him, but his style of talking, his style of explaining his point were, I would say, magnetic. Then he offered me a ride back to New Jersey from Connecticut since I didn't have a car. And there's 3 hours in the car was intense discussion. And as I like to say, I'm still on that ride. I'm not got off the ride. Then for a period of time, Mahesh kept calling me for different functions, different programs at his home in New Jersey. I would go with half heart because I was not still convinced. But Mahesh was patient, and eventually, more so during the emergency of Mrs. Gandhi, I could see what this was all about. And I became 100% dedicated and devoted to VHPA. And my style was that you would find out what is your strength, and he will encourage you to pursue it. Out of a blue, suddenly he asked me in 1976, during the emergency, that Gaurang Bhai, from next month, you edit Hindu Vishwa. I didn't have an experience of editing anything, but I used to write frequently about emergency in the newspapers. And that was the best thing that happened to me, because over the years, I learned what to read, what to understand, whom to talk with, how to look at the differing viewpoints, how to present them as neutral as possible. So that was something that I must say was a great gift that Masai gave me. I was very, very happy to work with Masai for 48 long years. He was a father figure to me and to many others. With Mahesh Bhai, everybody felt that he's special to him only. But Mahesh Bhai was a universal man. I can say that Mahesh Bhai was the father of all Hindu movements in USA. Today, what we see VHP of America, or what Hindu Council of America, Hindu Satsang, HMSC, Hindu University of America, Ekkavidyalaya, all these were the, I would say, brainstorm of brain waves of Mahesh Pai. Mahesh Pai was a visionary. He could see years ahead of the time. And therefore, sometimes we, his colleagues, wouldn't agree with him. He would bring up a proposal and we will not agree. But he never forced it upon us. He was a man to build consensus. He would wait his time, year, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And eventually we will see the light. One of the things about Mahesh Pai was, he was one of the best team builders that I met in my life. To be a team builder, you have to put aside your ego. And Mahesh Pai was doing exactly that. Whether you are a newcomer to VHPA or whether you were a seasoned worker, he will treat you the same. He will point out your mistakes very gently. He always said, he quoted from Ramayana, of Valmiki Ramayana, that one has to be very strict with himself, but he has to be as soft as a flower petal with others. Being with Mahesh Pai means learning lessons of life, not only for VHPA, but for his own life. He was highly spiritual. People didn't know that. Besides practicing yoga, etc., meditation, he was devoted to the Dattatreya Guru. And his mantra was Hari Om Tat Sat Jai Guru Datta. He traveled without pause. I have seen him traveling every weekend to different parts of the country just to bring Hindus together. He also was a very good orator, so he was in demand. He will travel everywhere, and that too at his own expense, because right from the beginning, Mahesh Pai told us that this is not just a work, not activity, it's a sadhana, a spiritual sadhana. And to do that, he said, first thing is to do the tyaga, sacrifice. He always said, money VHP has is public funds. We are the trustees and we cannot misuse it. Therefore, he made it sure, he encouraged all of us. And all of us, when we traveled for VHP work, it was at our own expense. There was a joy in that. I can go on because Mahesh Pai had countless achievements, but he was way beyond VHP's borders. Mahesh Pai was at ease talking with the Archbishop in Delhi, or talking with Christian groups here in Washington, DC. He was also at ease talking with Sufi leaders of Muslim society. Because he believed that Hindu Dharma has a lot to offer for the word peace, but for that it has to also talk with others. He was not a man of dogmas. He was very practical. He was a risk taker also. He did 2 major conferences in New York and DC when we didn't have any balance in the bank as a VHPA, but he did that. He lived a life of ideal Hindu. When you go to his home, which I had gone several times in Boston, it was like what you call in our language, dharmasala. I never have been there when I was the only one. There will always be 2, 3 more people of families. Because for everybody coming from anywhere in the world, Mahesh Pai's home was a place like every Hindu wants to go to Haridwar or Kashi. For any activist, he or she had to go to Mahesh Pai's home. Therefore, whether it was Advani ji, Vajpayee ji, Narendra Modi ji, Singhal ji, Swami Chinmayanand ji, and other Swamis, they all were in this place. I always wondered, having a full-time job, a very responsible job. He was a research director in a Fortune 500 company. That kind of a job, all this traveling all the time, family matters, how he would find time to sit down and talk with a guest and pay full attention. I could not understand. And I must mention that credit goes to his wife, Ragini Ben. And recently passed, our own Anjali Pandya, uh, who held the fort at home. And Mahesh Bhatt traveled not only in the USA but across the world to several countries. He was what you would call a Lokmanya leader. He was also on the board of VHP Bharat, and his work never ceased. Uh, as soon as he was, he became advisor to VHPA after leaving all the post. He started this GIBV, Global Indian Bharat Vikas. Use the word India Bharat together. India for general people, but Bharat is, they said Bharat has a different connotation. And he said Vikas, not progress, because Vikas has integral development of human being is Vikas. Idea is for rural empowerment in Bharat. And he created a team of people in Bharat as well as here. And today they
Uh, Gaurang, we kind of lost you. You might be having
go.
some internet. Go ahead. Now we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So as I was saying, Mahesh started GIBV, Global Institute for Bharat Vikas for rural empowerment. Um, and he inspired, I think, hundreds of people across the world in different, not in VHP only, in any other organization. As a father figure. And now that he is no more physically, we all, at least those of us who had chance to work with him or meet him, feel that intense pain of physical loss. But we know that he will live through all of us because his vision was so great and we have to fulfill it. One more thing, Mahesh said that he doesn't want mukti. He always said that I want to be reborn so I can work for the Hindu society. My humble prayers for Mahesh Bhai, and thank you Ajay Bhai and Utsav Bhai for inviting me.
Gaurang, let me share some of some of the other things that some of the thoughts that I have, and some of the things that I remember, and get your views on it. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this show, I met Mahesh Bhai in 1984. So I came to US in 1982, and back in Bharat. I had worked for Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, which is ABVP, and I was given a name of Dr. Shinde to contact, but because of school and other things, and no internet at the time, and for some reason I misplaced this contact, and I was not able to contact him. But in beginning of 1984, I, I believe I got a letter from India saying that there is a big Hindu conference happening. Here is the phone number to contact and go and attend this conference. If I remember correctly, that was Anjali Ben's number. And so I called up VHPA and I attended that conference. I actually remember still that I registered as a volunteer, even though I was a delegate. I was a student and all that, but there was a youth conference. So I said, okay, I'll volunteer. Whatever work needs to be done. I went to that conference and I wrote out, and I still have that paper. I wrote out 10 reasons why a Hindu student organization, at that time I thought Indian student organization should be started in America. And this was a conference with about 4,500, 5,000 people, if I remember correctly, at Waldorf Astoria. I still remember as if it was yesterday that I saw Mahesh Bhai because I had seen him on the stage. I saw that he was the president of VHPA, and I saw him in the hallway. I pulled him aside in the middle of the conference, and I remember as if it was yesterday, Gaurang Bhai. I talked to him for 10 minutes and I read out all my points that I had prepared. That this is why we need an Indian student organization or a Hindu student organization in America. Now, here is a person who is, in charge of this major conference, and he's meeting this student uh, who he doesn't know from before, and he patiently listened to me for 10 minutes in that conference, in that busy conference, in the hallway. And then he told me that, I should get in touch with Gokul Kunnath, because he's been at VHP for a long time, and maybe I should talk with him and see what to do. And then there was a conference, I believe a governing council meeting in Michigan subsequent to that conference at some time, and so I drove up there. But for a person to take 10 minutes out of his busy, his busy conference responsibilities, to talk with an unknown college student, that to me was, I will never forget that. So whether it was, and I remember that Swami Chinmayanand was a chief guest at the conference, and there were a lot of other dignitaries. A person who can talk with a dignitary like Swami Chinmayanand, a spiritual leader, who's, even in 1984, Swami Chinmayanand was very well regarded. And with the same ease, to talk with this unknown student who just pulled him aside in the hallway, that to me, was, that is the impression that, it set an example, that, is something that that all of us, who have interacted with him, try to follow, right? um, I'm sure you have a lot of experiences like that as well.
No, that was, I think, must by strength that he would listen to everybody, and he would never let you feel that we are so small and I am up in the other stage, and that is why he's able to make us, all of us, what we are. I think,
Yeah.
and like you, I'm sure many others have same kind of experiences.
Yeah. And then, look, in 1970s, when Mahesh Bhai, he came in the late 60s, and in late 60s there were hardly any mandirs in America. There were ISKCON mandirs, and as you pointed out in our conversation, that there were few mandirs. There were some ISKCON mandirs, so some other mandirs, but there were really not that many mandirs. And a new generation of children was at that time, either they just come from India, or they were born here. And this generation of kids at that time, the most pressing need for them was to get the basic education, because they're a smallest of the small minority. They're going to school, and they're going to, just staying in neighborhoods that they don't see any other Indian, they don't see any other Hindu. And to really to uh, teach them about Hindu Dharma, to provide them the opportunity to network with other Hindus. That, with that need, he, he inspired, and he started with the help of all the early VHPA leaders. They started, we started the Bal Vihars, and on Sundays, or weekends, where people would get together and teach about Hindu Dharma, teach about India, teach about our Sanskriti. And also summer camps, a longer period of time, where strong bonds. And I met so many people, Garangbai, that who went to the camps, and they're, 30, 40 years later, they've still maintained that bond with each other. And that is the strength. And then you, of course, you mentioned all the other organizations that you inspired. But people sometimes don't know where the inspiration came from. In Bharat itself, Mahesh Bhai was, for several years, he started going to Shakha in RSS when he was 10 years old. And then he was a pracharak for several years in Bharat. He was also the president of ABUP, and the president of the Gujarat state unit of ABUP, for the state president of ABUP. So he was inspired by no other than Param Pujya Guru Golwalkarji. So that is where his source of strength, his source of training. He was a third year OTC trained Swayamsevak. So his organizational training, how to build Sangathan, what, the underlying philosophy, all of that, it came directly from Param Pujya Guruji, and from from the Sangh background that he had.
Yes, actually, Mashbai used to recite one line from a song, Bhavgit. Uh, मई मधु से अनभिघ्न अभी तक जीवन भर विषय पान किया है. Meaning, I am not aware of how honey tastes. The whole life I have only taken poison. This is what he said as a worker of VHPA, we have to keep in his mind. We are not here to get honey. We'll have to take a lot of poison inside, like Shankar Bhagwan, so that we can do serve society. And when Mahesh Bhai was telling us that when he was coming to USA, he went to meet Param Pujanya Guruji, and he asked him what he should do for our work in USA. See, right there, many of us in USA, we never thought of those things. It was Mahesh Bhai thought, what should I do there about Hindus? Not my PhD, but this. And Guruji told him that at that time in USA, you cannot have RSS because RSS Rashtra is Bharat here in USA. He said you are scattered around the country, some people only.
Garung bhai, I lost your audio again, but you're back. Okay, you're back.
I don't know. Maybe I moved away from the.
No,
Okay.
it was some internet. Your signal was weak, and it's still weak. It's showing one red bar actually, but
Yes.
no, that's okay.
I live in Florida.
Yeah, okay. No, that's fine. You're back now.
Yeah,
Please
but
go ahead.
what I was saying was that Mahesh Bhai went to meet Guruji, asked him, what should I do in USA for Hindus? And then Guruji said that best thing was because there are people who are scattered across the country, small numbers, so something like RSS will not work, but you should start Vishwa Hindu Parishad. That's how VHP came in existence.
And and subsequently, when HSS here started, Mahesh Bhai, wholeheartedly, supported that and worked with people like, Bhishma Agnihotri ji and Ved Nanda ji and Manoj Shinde ji and all of them uh, to make sure that the HSS gets started on a firm footing, and and HSS is now doing wonderful work in America, all over the US.
Yes.
Another organization that he started was the Hindu University of America. Hindu University had ups and downs, but Hindu University is now under the leadership of Kalyan Vishwanathan ji and Manoj Shinde ji is now finally has taken roots and is doing wonderful, and that's yet another branch of the banyan tree.
Yeah, I want to, if I may, bring up here one point that the idea about University of America was given to us by Swami Tilak ji
Yep.
back in 1983.
Yes.
And he suggested that do it in Florida because it is closer to the Caribbean countries, Hindus of Caribbean countries can come there. And he said
Right.
it should be a education that takes you inward. Because after all, Hindu, when they say Hindu, it is spiritual.
Right.
This search within. And then in 85, it was launched. But it took 7 or 8 years to get even state approval. And then we all know ups and downs. But like I said, I am very happy to see in last 2 years the way HU has progressed. I myself have taken courses with them recently. And I think all your listeners, our listeners here, would at least visit the website of HUA and contribute. That will be their, in my opinion, that will be also a homage to Mahesh Bhai.
Absolutely. And then the other organization, which we started as part of the VHPA, and then now it has flourished on its own as an independent organization, is Ekal Vidyalay. Ekal Vidyalay, I started as one teacher, one school project, and then it was it was spun up and became its own organization and with its own volunteers and its own laws and bylaws and everything else. But that the initial groundwork, a lot of times it's much more difficult to go from one school to two schools and two schools to four schools and four to eight and things like that. But that initial work, the grind that is needed, they to go across the country and inspire a team of people who would then take it on and make it independent and flourish. And look, I mean, at this time, Ekal Vidyalay probably has a much wider reach than VHPA does. Certainly, much wider, fund collection, and all for good cause than VHPA itself.
Yeah.
But
So, Mandirs school also interesting history that started. Mahesh was visiting Bharat, and this idea came up from the Friends of Tribals, and then we came back. We started this project, and after only 6 months or 1 year, we ran into big problem because schools were in Bihar. And Bihar government was a little bit ahead of government, so there were so many obstacles couldn't be done, and that is when Ekal Vidyalay's concept came in VHP here, and within 1998, Ekal Vidyalay was doing quite well. So Mandirs suggested that we should separate it. Some of us were not in favor of it. It's very difficult to let go of a child. I myself, as general secretary, was not in favor of that. We had long arguments over months. Finally, we were convinced, and that time, because it was a new organization, VHP loaned a few key workers to Vidyalay. Vidyalay Gandhi, Saradbhai Gandhi, Joseph Parekh, Vasant Tariyal, etc. And today, it's so good to see that Ekal Vidyalay is a premier organization.
Garungbhai, one thing that a lot of people, you kind of mentioned, but a lot of people don't realize that, because majority of the Hindus who live today were born after 1975. So a lot of people don't realize that emergency that came in 1975, imposed by Indira Gandhi, was a existential threat to not just the democracy of Bharat, but to Bharat itself. And in the early and there were many attempts that to from around the world to fight this emergency, because people in India were just getting arrested and put in jail without any any due process or any of that. But people outside of India were quite vocal, and in America, you and Mahesh Bhai and other people were very active. Tell us about your experience with emergency and the contributions that Mahesh Bhai made, uh, and of course, and you made to for democracy in India to be revived, because
Yes.
this is really underreported and most people don't know about it.
Yeah, it was a life-changing experience for many of us. We never thought this could happen. And initially, I remember very well that there was a VHP annual meeting of Governing Council in Metro Washington DC area. And VHP Bharat Secretary General Apteji was there. It was June 26th year, 75. And immediately suddenly a news came. And then obviously the top people of VHPA huddled with Apteji. And it took a few months to figure out what to do, because we didn't get any much news from Bharat at that time. And then slowly, there are other groups also. An idea of Indians for Democracy formed. It was a very difficult uphill task in the beginning, because there were very disparate groups coming together. Everybody was fighting for survival. It was people from the RSS background like us, and then there were socialists, communists, and all Congressites. And there was a mutual suspicion at every level. And others said didn't have any RSS background of being a cadre or discipline. So it's more difficult. I remember we had a dialogue meeting in Hoboken at Stevens Institute, all these people. And it went on and on and on. But eventually, Mahesh Bhai, by the sheer force of his personality and his way of convincing people, was able to stitch everybody together. And in the short span of 19 months, Mahesh Bhai earned respect of everyone, those who were opposed to Jansang at that time, because Mahesh Bhai was so genuine. Mahesh Bhai was a very good strategist, and I think those 19 months will live and breathe only that work, because we didn't have modern communications at that time. I remember Indian Express was the only newspaper who could print at least something about this thing, and we used to get my email copy, and then my job was to cut from that all the relevant parts, glue them together on a piece of paper, and then Xerox them, and then mail it out to few hundred people every day. Even in Bharat, we sent it out on different names so people would be able to get it. Also, through IFD, we raised funds here to support families of or people who were in prison for no fault of their own. Several leaders from Bharat were able to escape and come here. Principal is Surendra Swamiji, Ram Jeshmalani ji, Sri Goreji, Fernandez's wife Laila Kabir, and many others, Makran Desai ji. It was job of IFD that to take them around the country, get the interviews with the newspapers and radio, and TV, to bring home here the idea of what was going on in Bharat. It was an intense effort where you yourself were not sure what will happen to you, because I remember 5 of our colleagues, including Jitendra Kumar in Washington, their passports were impounded. My home in Bharat, police went to inquire about me, etc. etc. It's not about me. Several people worked, and it was Mahesh Bhai who led this movement, keeping very calm, which is very, very difficult. We were all angry, we were frustrated, we were nervous. Mahesh Bhai never, for a moment, Mahesh Bhai was not, he was sure that we will win. And somebody once mentioned that Indira Gandhi should be shot dead. Mahesh Bhai said, no, she should live and she should see how democracy functions. That was Mahesh Bhai.
Garang bhai, a little, so many tributes have come for Mahesh bhai, and it's all in our press release, which we'll post on our website. But it is some of these tributes are, very, very touching. Dr. Ved Nanda, who is the Sangh Chalak, president of Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh in North America, and the chairman of the board of trustees at Hindu University of America, has said that no words can express my grief. I lost my dear friend, my comrade in arms, my soulmate, but who is still watching over us and inspiring us, praying for Sadgati for the departed Atman. Swami Vigyananda, who is the Joint General Secretary of Vishwa Hindu Parishad, remembered the contributions of Mahesh Bhai and said that Mahesh Bhai's life was dedicated to laying the foundation of the Hindu movement, the Hindu identity in USA, and in positioning Hindus as leading contributors in the growth and development of their esteemed adopted country. He concluded this by saying that Vishwa Hindu Parishad expresses its deepest condolences at this sudden nidhan and prays to Almighty to grant a pride of place to Punyatma in the Nitya Dham. Soumitra Gokhaleji, who is the global coordinator for Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh, said, the passing of Adarniya Dr. Mahesh Bhai Mehta is a great loss to Hindu movement, not only in America, but worldwide. He was a pioneering leader with a vision for a better world through work of Hindu Sangathan. He did that through VHPA and numerous other organizations and initiatives he undertook. His clarity of thought, courage, conviction, and above all, optimism until his last breath was truly extraordinary. And in personal interactions, he always mentioned how he was guided by Pujniya Golwalkar Guruji himself. He was ever willing to share his knowledge and precious insight. Every meeting with him was a learning experience. His genuine warmth and care inspired scores of Karyakartas to get involved and serve Dharma. He became their mentor for life. He concludes by saying the veteran of global Hindu movement has left behind a legacy. He started his eternal left behind a legacy and started his eternal journey. Dr. Abhaya Asthana, who is the chairman of the advisory board of VHPA and the immediate past president of VHPA, said, Mahesh Bhai's life is a Jyoti Punj, a beacon that will continue to inspire and guide Hindu diaspora forever. People like him, who dedicate every moment of their life in service of others, truly construct world history. And I'll read one more, Gaurang Bhai, uh, and that is from Sanjay Mehta, who is the past General Secretary and the member of the advisory board of VHPA, who said, on the day Mahatma Gandhi left Deha, or his mortal body, somebody asked Acharya Vinoba Bhave, Gandhiji's Sishya, or his student, about his feeling. Often stable, Vinobaji had wet eyes and said, when Bapu was present in mortal form, I had to make an effort, take an appointment to see him. Now it has become easy. I close my eyes and Bapu is present right there. And Sanjay Bhai says that today he has the same feeling that he is sure many others to do too. And one more from Ramesh Bhai Shah, who's the CEO of Ekal Abhiyan. He said, respected Mahesh Bhai was pioneer in volunteerism in the USA for Hindu causes. He traveled to establish relationships with like-minded people to establish VHPA. The best tribute we can give to work for Sarva Bhavantu Sukhinaha with our cultural heritage. So, Gaurang Bhai, with that, we let's observe a moment of silence. I'll bring Utsada also back here in the focus, uh, and let's observe a minute of silence uh, for Mahesh Bhai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Bhai, thank you very much. Gaurang Bhai, we are going to talk about in a something that has resulted in the work of Mahesh Bhai, you, and a lot of other Hindus through the decades, and that is revival of Hindu Mandirs. This past week was remarkable in terms of how many Hindu Mandirs have been revived. And please, you're welcome to stay and opine. I know you have spent a lot of time thinking about these issues, writing about these issues. And Utsada, I'm sure you know that Gaurang Bhai is you know is one of the leading one of the thought leaders for the Hindu movement in America, and it is good that he is here with us today. So, Gaurang Bhai, please, if you can, uh, please stay back and while we are talking about the some of the other issues that are coming up. And I would, Utsada, you'll have to share your screen today, but please go ahead and. So we are going to talk about.
So I'm
Gaurang Bhai,
sharing my screen, Ajay. It should be visible to you. You
yeah,
are you have it switched off.
it's coming up. There we go. So tell us about what happened in Kashi Vishwanath. What happened to Kashi this week? What is why are we talking about the Kashi Vishwanath today?
Well, Ajay bhai, as you can see, the Kashi Vishwanath corridor, as it is now being called, was recently inaugurated by the Prime Minister of India, and there is a reason for celebration, and the reason is that this is a long overdue amongst many other projects that people in India, Hindus and Hindus around the world, were looking forward to. So I want to, for young American Hindus, or just young Americans who do not know the importance of Kashi, or Varanasi, as often it's depicted in our scriptures. Varanasi is one of the oldest living cities in the world. So there is always a competition between two cities that have actually transcended time. Varanasi is one of them, and the other is the city of Damascus, or Damashq, as in early pre-Arabic, or Turkic language. It has often been described. So Varanasi and Damascus are the two oldest settlements in the world, with Varanasi most likely being the older one because it has continuously lived through without any break. And as the famous American thinker, author Mark Twain once said, Varanasi is older than history, older than tradition, older even than legend, because Western civilization looks at legend through the Iliad and the Odyssey, the Greek quasi-historical legends, and so they always compare everything in relationship to that. So he says, older even than legend, and looks twice as old as all of them put together. And this was, during the height of the colonial rule, when the land of Bharat had already endured close to 600 years, especially the region of Varanasi, close to 600, 800 years of colonization and subjugation. So when Mark Twain visited Varanasi, he saw a city that is living, older than history, but living and enduring a legacy of colonization. And that's why he kind of almost sarcastically puts it as twice as old as all of them put together. So this is the city we are talking about. And I have here some pictures of the situation in Varanasi. This is from early 20th century, so 1910, 1912, around that period. As you can see, the temple of Kashi Vishwanath that was actually previously destroyed by Aurangzeb, and a mosque was built there.
So is it the same Aurangzeb that did wonderful things as per Audrey Truscott, or is this a different Aurangzeb?
Ajay, you had to bring it up, huh? You had to bring up Audrey Truscott anyway. I thought we had an agreement that we are not gonna.
Wait. We're not talking about Audrey Truscott because we have vowed not to talk about Audrey Truscott on this show. I'm just a little confused because I was just kind of curious if this is the same Audrey Truscott or is this a different Audrey Truscott? Just so that we'll set the record straight.
It's the same Audrey Truscott, and it's you have to understand, Ajay, and I have said this in this show before. Audrey Truscott is just the face of a bigger, larger movement that goes all the way back to the demand for Pakistan, as called out by Aligarh Muslim University and then Allama Iqbal. So, and they later successfully implemented by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So Audrey Truscott is just the front end of that ideological movement that literally supports her, and she has made no bones about it.
I'm not as intellectual as you are. I just thought maybe I just got confused that maybe a different person altogether.
Okay, fair enough. So anyway, let's talk about this wonderful occasion, a giant leap, if I may say, in step towards decolonization, if I can put it that way in modern academic terms. This is the Kashi Vishwanath corridor, as recently inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi of India, is a giant leap in decolonization, and there have been detractors of that, and obviously there will be detractors of that in a society that is heavily colonized. But I just wanted to show you some glimpses of some of the photographs of that area region, and look at a small straw roof supporting Nandi, the Vahan of Lord Shiva. And this is almost metaphorical to the plight of the Hindu civilization in that period of time, literally kept together, just supported by a straw roof. And I have some more photographs of some similar time period, and look at it, like the roof is falling off in the second picture here.
Which year is this, Sada?
This is also in the early 20th century. I could not locate the exact date when this was taken. I do see a small writing here by I think it's 1910.
So this is actually not even the destruction, right? Because the destruction happened in 17th century, and after that, two attempts at revival of this mandir took place. One was during the rule of Ahilyabai Holkar, where she gave money for the revival of this mandir, and the other was, I believe, during Maharaja Ranjit Singh, where he donated money for the gold, canopy, or on the mandir.
Correct, but this is even after that. So the revival, the small little revival that was done by Ahilyabai Holkar, and later on by even local Hindu businessmen, they tried to keep this site alive,
Right.
but that also fell into so much disuse and destruction because of sheer negligence, because nobody in power in India and in that region really cared. And look at the roof on the right side, it's falling apart. But see, this is also a very metaphorical about how Hindu civilization has survived and thrived despite so much hardship. It's literally an example of that. And there is a picture I have of, this is an older picture, this is from 1822, so it's actually 200 years old, from and it's actually a hand sketch illustration by James Prinsep. And this actually shows the original Kashi Vishwanath temple. As you can see, the portion and the top bottom here of a typical Nagari style. If you've been to Khajuraho, if you've been to most temples in northern India, even the current temple in Gujarat, the Somnath temple, they have the style of architecture which is called the Nagari style. And you can see the bottom of this temple with the pilasters and these symmetrical corrugated stonework with these beautiful supports frames here that you can see on the top from the older temple. And then you can see the mosque with the dome, much more simplistic, much more Turkic, almost as if imported and placed there from Uzbekistan. Uh, of course, the top of it is again a Hindu styled top spire, because they used to have an inverted flower, which is very typical of Hindu style, on top of a Uzbek dome. So this is from 1822.
So
And
before India by Holkar, this would have been even worse.
this is
Right?
all that you would have seen before Ahilyabai Holkar would be this structure, which is the Gyanvapi Mosque, dominating the dome of the Gyanvapi Mosque, dominating the base of the original Kashi Vishwanath temple, with an arch plastered on the face of it, almost, showing the middle finger to the Hindus globally.
I-
Um,
I- it is good to listen to Usoda because I know he's an architect by profession, so he's able to explain all these things very nicely.
Yes.
As you can see, Ajay, this is how this is where we were, and this is what our heart and our minds brought us despite colonialism. And if you go forward, this is where we are in this middle portion, where you see this being reconstructed, where post-colonial Hindu Bharatvarsh is trying to be. So you see this journey on the left side to the journey on the right side, and you can see where we are heading towards, and the process is in between here. You can see, like, these were literally covered by encroachment, and entire buildings and concrete structures and brick houses just engulfed what was there, which were historic structures. And now you can see, like, they got exposed. And the tragedy of the whole thing is that, Ajay bhai, while this reconstruction was happening, there were people in India, educated people in India, many of whom were Hindus, who were working very hard to ensure that we never get out of this phase. To them, this represents India. And that itself is a testament to the point which I'm trying to make here, is that, when your mind is broken with 800 years of colonialism, you hanker for this. You hanker for what was originally a comfort zone of slavery.
So let
And
me ask you this. Let me ask you this question. Right, there were maybe 50,000 mandirs in India that were destroyed during the Islamic invasion and subsequent to that. Um, one of the parallels to this is the mandir in Somnath, because Somnath Mandir was attacked many times and destroyed many times. But after Junagadh became part of of India, because it didn't become part of India on 15th of August 1947, right? It became a little later. The the first thing that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and Kanhayalal Maniklal Munshi, who's also the founder of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan and one of the key architects of Indian Constitution, uh, member of the Constituent Assembly, they went there the next morning and they pledged to revive Somnath Mandir. because it's no different than all the statues of slave owners and colonialists. So that had to be rebuilt, and those vestiges of slavery had to be destroyed, right? So they were able to do that. Why did they not do that at Kashi Vishwanath? Why is there on the property of the mandir, and you yourself said it's one of the oldest mandirs? Why do they have a mosque standing there? Isn't that a vestige of Hindu enslavement, or a sign of
So
Hindu?
Ajay, I would go one step further and say it is not comparable to the statue of slave owners, because the statues of slave owners were built on empty land. They are depicting colonialism and slavery, but they are still on empty land. This goes even one step further. This is not just a symbol of slave owner and colonialism standing on land, which these mosques were. It goes one step further, and it is actually a symbol of desecration of a billion people's belief, and then built on top of it. So it's even worse than just when you compare it to statues of slave owners in an American southern city. It's even worse than that.
So why did it stand for 75 years?
So this is a very good question to ask, and it also shows the power tussle, and we could have an entire show on that. The power tussle between different forces representing different civilizational values within the ruling elite of India after 1947. The fact that both Vallabhbhai Patel and KL Munshi just was able to get the Somnath temple rebuilt shows that their domain of power and their desire to revive the civilization of in Bharatvarsh had its limitation within the power structure that they were operating in. So they probably had a priority of doing it to 15 temples, but all they could achieve was within the domain where they had the most power and the most influence. And the other parts, I remember, there were probably efforts to revive the temple, the Ram temple, that eventually the Supreme Court of India allowed to be built. There were efforts to revive that also. So throughout the Indian subcontinent, there have been efforts to revive the ancient civilizational temples of Hindu Dharma that have been colonized and desecrated. But only in few places where leaders within the Congress party with significant heft were able to overrule the neo-colonial mindset that also pervaded in the Congress party. So it was a diversity of opinions and civilizational approaches. And I believe that in Gujarat, there was a strong public support for revival. And Somnath still represented, probably even at that point of time, the biggest singular identity of hurt to the Hindu civilization. Not to mention the fact that Pakistan kept harping on it. If you remember, in 1965, Pakistani Navy made extra efforts, took extra risks to shell Somnath temple from the waters, even in the 1965 war, because to them it is a symbolism that is attached to it. And later on, when they failed, they said, oh, there was a radar station there somewhere nearby, and we were actually trying to bomb the radar station. But
Well, I don't know.
they called it Operation Somnath. The Pakistan Navy ship that was actually trying to destroy Somnath from the sea called the entire operation in 1965 Operation Somnath. So you understand the importance of Somnath in the civilizational psyche of radicalism.
I don't know if you know this, Utsada, but last year Pakistan released a new political map. It's probably the first time in their history they released a political map, and they show Junagadh as part of Pakistan. And just 2 weeks ago, they had a special event to increase the awareness of Junagadh as part of Pakistan. But let me ask Gaurang Bhai, because Gaurang Bhai has written about Ram Janmabhoomi. He has written about and he knows the novel that Kanhaiyalal Munshi has written called Gujarat No Nath, and I'm sure he has a lot of thoughts on this. So Gaurang Bhai. Gaurang Bhai, you're on mute, Gaurang Bhai.
Sorry. Yeah, my only thought right now is this. Ayodhya, we are building a magnificent temple now. Kashi is done. Somnath is done. So only Mathura is the only question. And there is not as many secularists say an attack on Muslims or Islamic thinking. It is reclaiming the Shraddha Bindus of Hindus. Modi ji, in my opinion, will go down in history as real sense of Hindu Hriday Samrat, because he has seen the wounds on the civilization of centuries and he's corrected it. Even in Nehru's time, fortunately, we had people like Vallabhbhai and Kanyara Bansi who stood up and did this thing, rebuilt the Somnath Mandir. We all know the story where Nehru asked then President Rajendra Babu not to go for the Muhurt of the Mandir, Somnath Mandir, because we are a secular state. But Rajendra Prasad also had the spine, so he did go. So
I think we lost Gaurang's audio again. Gaurang, sorry, we lost your audio.
okay. I don't know what's the
Oh,
problem.
you're back. You're back.
Okay, I think it's my side. Yeah. So I think we are on the path to decolonize Bharat, which is very critical. Our challenge now, of course, is the so-called seculars, who have, I think, big megaphone.
Yep.
So our people are like you and me and many millions of others, we have to think of strategies how to fight that. Just like Usoda said, that order is just a face. But we have to go beyond the face and find out, I think maybe we know it already, how to counter it. Thank you.
No, thank you, Gaurang. And we're going to talk about some other mandirs that are in news this week as well, because there's a revival going on in a lot of places where mandirs are coming up. So, and this last week was really wonderful because a lot of news from ancient mandirs were actually came out last week. But also that if you go to the next slide, there's this slide that you pointed out. There's a little video, maybe a 2-minute video. And Gaurang, if you have to go, I don't want to hold you up. But you might find this video very interesting. So if you have 2 minutes,
then I will leave if you don't mind.
Yeah. So that can you show that video, because that video, not everyone was happy, like you are or I am or Gaurang is. There's some unhappy people that it got this mandir came up, right? So I think one person was very emotional about it, and he actually cried when UP Aaj or UP Aaj, the TV channel in UP went and interviewed him. UP being Uttar Pradesh, for people who don't know, the province in which the Kashi Vishwanath Mandir, Ayodhya, a lot of these religious dhams are located. So that if you can play that video, there will be, and you have to play it from your browser. That's how you can play it from my PowerPoint as well, because you're on Windows, so it will work.
So Ajay, I wanted to play something else. I don't want to play the video of the Muslim gentleman crying over what happened there, because I think I really don't want to promote propaganda here. Let's listen to the chief architect, Bimal Patel, being interviewed.
Come on. We have to get you to this.
We have to be a serious effort, Ajay. We cannot just ridicule people around.
That's a lot more effective than taking people seriously. You know that. Okay, we'll have a longer conversation one of these days.
So Ajay, do you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I'm going to play the video that.
I have to bring you in the session. Hold on.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to just play the video where a very well-known journalist in India, and she's interviewing the chief architect, and here is the video.
You're also involved with the Kashi Vishwanath.
I am, yes,
projects.
Can you make it bigger?
Criticism because a lot of the old buildings have been demolished, including some temples, which were discovered inside some of these old houses.
I don't know where you get that one from. In fact, lots of the buildings that have been taken down were encroachments on top of temples. Have you seen the pictures? There
Yes.
are terrific pictures of how buildings have been built with concrete beams resting on temples, and And only when the buildings were removed did you find temples inside.
So the temples have not been demolished.
The temples have not been demolished. In fact, we are weaving them into the design of that.
But somehow it acquired this higgledy-piggledy character, right? Where, I mean, I know some of the reports are saying that you wanted this review from the Kashi Vishwanath Mandir right up to the Ganga. But didn't it acquire a character of its own over the last 100 years?
Yes, ma'am, you're right about that. There's no, you're right about that. Everything acquires a character. Even a slum acquires a character. So there's not a question of here you had sewage flowing freely, you had encroachments on top of temples, you had encroachment on top of old monuments, you had sewage dribbling down the sides of buildings. All of this has character. Okay, but your 100,000 pilgrims on certain days coming through, it's a security nightmare, it's a safety nightmare. You know, was the first guy who proposed that this space should be created around this temple, and this temple should be made cleaner and better? Gandhiji.
So Ajay bhai, I wanted to show this interview because the lady who she's a very popular journalist in India, almost as popular as Barkhadat, actually smarter than Barkhadat. She actually is trying to put forth the point that, the very intellectual point that everything that is bad is also has character, and therefore it is good. So sewage dripping through Varanasi, everything clean, rotting bodies, everything is character. Therefore, it doesn't need to be changed. It needs to be preserved because now it's part of history. And Bimal Patel very wonderfully, takes her apart without getting angry, without telling her that she's a Khan market liberal. Just gives the right reasons for this, why this was done. And on top of that, he takes her down by saying the person who actually wanted this to be changed is Mahatma Gandhi. So once you invoke Mahatma Gandhi, the JNU crowd also has to quieten down, because now they cannot go against Mahatma Gandhi. They will try sometime in the next 50 years, but they cannot for now. So that's why I want people to see this interview. Don't worry about the other interview where some Muslim guy is crying because something else.
But it has its own value.
Yeah, I understand. But
you still won't play it, huh?
We have a finite amount of time in our program.
So you won't still play it.
I don't know, Ajay bhai, I don't want to promote.
All right.
This program is more than that. This is for helping our people understand the real reasons why we do things.
Take away the entertainment value from the program. Come on. All right, Gauranga, I know you have to leave, and I really want to thank you for taking time and joining today. I know it was a very different occasion than you would have liked, but I think what you really, your memories of Mahesh Bhai, the way you articulated it, it really, and all of it kind of came from the heart. So I cannot thank you enough for joining us. Please, do come again. We enjoy having conversation with you. Thank you. Namaste.
So much for giving me the opportunity to talk about Mahesh Bhai. This is our own platform. There is no need to request me or anything like that. Don't know, thank me also. Really, I'm in America, so we have to thank you, but it's a family. And I congratulate, because in 7 weeks you will be hitting a year and a half. No, you already hit the mark and a half. Very soon it will be 2 years. This is
our 83rd show. This is our 83rd show.
So it requires so much commitment. I'm not able to attend most of your programs, but I can only understand that to do this every week in and every week out, prepare for it, bring up topics that are relevant and interesting. It's an amazing work, and that too for a president of VHPA, which is a big organization. I hope you are able to maintain peace at home. That's all.
No, it's all Utsada's work. I'm just here. I just come here and have some humorous, injections in the conversation. But all the intellectual work is done by Utsada.
You must make a perfect team, and
I just keep it light, and I just, so I have a lot of fun, Gauranga. I'm just,
I know both of you very intensely for many years. I can say there is a very good team. Keep it up.
Thank you, Gauranga. Namaste. Thank you. Utsada, go. Let's go on to the next mandir. We are on a mandir revival mode, right? So, what is the other mandir that we're going to talk about?
So if you share the screen, Ajay bhai,
Oh, sorry about that. Here we go. The next mandir on our list.
so this is actually very interesting, not just because it happened in the last week. It's also important because it happened on the 50th anniversary of the creation of the nation of Bangladesh, free from Pakistan. Uh, so what you see here is are pictures of the old in Dhaka, in the middle of Dhaka. If you compare it to Delhi or to Washington D.C. For those of you who can relate to either one of them, if the Washington Monument, it at the National Mall in Washington D.C. or Central Park in New York. So in Dhaka there is a place called Shahbag, which is in the middle of Dhaka, and I've been there. I'll show you pictures of me in this as we go forward with the show. In the center of Dhaka there is a place called Shahbag, and there used to be very beautiful couple of hundred. Actually, that temple used to go back many hundred years, but the latest iteration of the temple that you see on the left side, uh, the spire on the left side, was called Ramna Kali Temple, uh, and that was right next to an ashram called Sri Anandamayi Ashram, and these photographs are before 1971, uh, still from the time of Pakistan. So there was this beautiful temple complex with an ashram in the middle of Dhaka, in Shahbag, and they had, this was a place where Hindus used to go. It was one of the most lively areas of Dhaka where Hindus used to go and worship during pujas, Kali Puja, Durga Puja. But in 1971, the Pakistani army brought tanks and blew up this entire complex. And as you can see on the right side, you have the entire, pretty much rubble on the ground. And that was what the Pakistani army did in 1971. Now, I went to Bangladesh in 2015, and the Bangladesh government had built, as you can see, the roof here is temporary. It's a tent, but the walls are real. This is the same temple, Sri Durga Mandir at Ramna Kali Mandir, if you can, and Shrima Anandamay Ashram. The same location, but a makeshift. You can see the roof on the top is a temporary tin shed on the right side. So I was there. This is me there in 2015. I had gone there to pay homage to the temple and just connect with history uh, of that region. Even though my ancestors are mostly from West Bengal, and with some members of the family married into the refugee community that came in 1947. Most Bengalis have connections either way through the refugee community that had to leave Bangladesh in 1947. But I don't have personal family history in Bangladesh. But for me to go there and stand there in front of this temple and to remember these photographs of what had happened 50 years ago, but at the hands of the Pakistani army, it really gave me a different kind of emotion. And I always wondered, and I personally made efforts in whatever way I could to remind everybody concerned that something had to be done to ensure that this doesn't stay this way, but there is a bigger temple. There's a big symbol of revival of Hindu Dharma in the middle of Dhaka that it always was for hundreds of years. And so the picture that you see here, this is the rebuilt spire, and this is the complex that has been rebuilt there, uh, and it's going to be inaugurated by the President of India, uh, and it's going to happen this week. So this is a very fascinating, good piece of news that warms our heart, and all Hindus around the world should celebrate this. This news was not discussed much, so I urge everybody to discuss this. This is another example of how, despite all odds, despite all the struggles that Hindu Americans, Hindu communities around the world go through on an everyday basis, facing Hindu phobia, facing hatred, facing different adversities, as a ancient one, as the world's oldest and the third largest religion, there are people out there looking out and making efforts to take steps, s- small little ways, to revive their civilization. And I believe this is one of the good news of the week as well. And I think that's why I wanted to share it. And thank you, Ajay bhai, for reminding me about this. And back to you.
This is, so the, people say that, you know, people say that once some of these lands are lost, they never come back. And we like to give the example of Afghanistan, which was, so many mandirs in Afghanistan at one time and none now. And you see a lot of parts of Pakistan where the mandirs have been destroyed. To all that, I would say that we are not in this for a 1 year battle, 2 year battle, 10 year battle, 50-year battle, or even a 1,000-year-old battle. There's a reason why Sanatan Dharma is called Sanatan Dharma. We will not be defeated. We will spend 1,000 years. We'll spend 1,000 years to achieve what is just and what is right. And from the ashes and the rubbles of these mandirs, a new mandir, a new Hindu civilization in places where it doesn't exist today will spring up. It's only a matter of time because the truth is on our side. As the Ashok Stamba says, Satyameva Jayate, at the end, the truth is going to prevail. The Dharma is going to prevail. And that is the strength of Hindu Dharma. The truth is on Hindu Dharma side, right? So that I believe you have one more example, right? Or
No,
that,
Ajay bhai, I think I would like you to talk about, because you worked on this content and you brought it together. Very beautiful pictures of Kedarnath. So please go ahead and discuss
uh,
another wonderful revival. But this time it's not just something that humans committed, but the vagaries of nature in a land that has the mighty Himalayas, and how it impacted our ancient temple, which is in Kedarnath. So please
so
go
that I
ahead,
see
talk
that
about it.
there's for some reason in my version of the slides I don't see the Kedarnath. Oh, here it is. Okay.
I am showing you. I'm
Okay.
sharing.
Yes, yes. So that if you remember a few years, and it's not only the look, with time, all kind of natural calamities hit, and a lot of ancient mandirs, a lot of the ancient art get destroyed. And if you look at this picture, this is a picture of Kedarnath. Kedarnath is another one of those 12 Swayambhu Shivalingas, right? And Badrinath, Kedarnath. And here is a mandir that was in Kedarnath, Shiva Mandir, that got destroyed. If so, that I can go to the next slide. In a massive landslide and flood a few years ago, and you can see it's total rubble and nothing left. If you can see in this picture, in a very far, in a distant uh, center part of the picture, there's a skeletal of a mandir uh, that stands there, right where Utsoda is showing you. But really nothing else left of it. In last uh, you know few years, 3 4 years, there's been a significant effort that is going on to rebuild this mandir. This mandir will be inaugurated soon, but here you see a magnificent mandir at the Kedarnath site that is coming up. So that the way to look at it is, look, Hindus became independent after 1,000 years of foreign rule. Then they endured almost 65 years, a little over 65 years of communist brainwashing and propaganda from the people who went to JNU and controlled the education system of India. But in 8 short years of true independence, this is what this is what has happened to the Hindu civilization. You have mandirs that are coming up in Kedarnath, in Kashi Vishwanath, in Dhaka, in Ayodhya, and you name it, right? And we will do a show where all the places the mandirs are being revived. And these are not the only places. You'll be surprised at the places where Mandirs are coming up around the world. 8 years. So the 8 years of Hindu independence. Okay. 75 years of Indian independence. And we're grateful for that because Somnath happened at that time period. But in last 8 years, this is a history changing for the Hindus in the world. And we are fortunate to witness this. Right. Darutsada, I turn it over to you again.
So Ajay bhai, we would like to discuss the Hindu. I think we discussed the Hindu good news of the week. Our half of our show was the Hindu good news of the week, but we should discuss about the Hindu Seva Charity Act of the week. And I believe this week also we would like to have Hindu Pact, our organization that me and Ajay bhai are using this platform to talk from as the Hindu. As
Utsada,
the Hindu.
you have to have the music before that. I think
Okay,
you can.
let's do the music, and then I'm going to try to show a video that our volunteers in Hindu Pact have made for our.
मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं वचसा सततं वदनीयं मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं वचसा सततं वदनीयं लोकहितम्.
All right, Utsada, what is the Hindu good news of the week?
So I'm trying to get there, Ajay bhai. Just 1 minute, please. Hold on.
Take your time. No problem.
And I believe we are here. Let me know if you can hear once I play it.
All right.
Namaste. I'm an internet organization that keeps Hinduism and Hindu values in the political discussion.
Wait a minute, Utsada. The video is not showing, so can you please rewind it?
Aiding the back to ensure that Americans
Rewind
and American
it
lawmakers
from
understand Hinduism, the Hindu diaspora. Namaste.
Utsada, you'll have to rewind this and replay it from the beginning.
Organization that keeps Hinduism and Hindu values
Can you hear
in
me?
the political discussion as well as foster these values for the next
Utsada,
generation.
Utsada, can you hear me?
Namaste.
Yes, Ajay bhai.
Can you please rewind and replay?
Can you please put it on the screen?
Yes, I'll put it on the screen. Please rewind and replay.
Okay, I'm
And
replaying
can you
it. Okay.
make it full screen? Can you make it full screen? Because we got some comment. Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir.
Namaste. I'm an internet leading organization that keeps Hinduism and Hindu values in the political discussion as well as foster these values for the next generation of Indian American Hindus like myself. Aiding the back to ensure that Americans and American lawmakers understand Hinduism, the Hindu diaspora, and its decades-long contribution to the American ethos.
Hindu Pact is a body where we start also be able to express ourselves as individuals.
As parents, we want to see our children and grandchildren to be proud and confident. We want a strong Hindu advocacy and Hindu identity.
Hindu Pact is extremely important because we are the voice for Hindus across the globe who may not have agency in their lives.
Pact is very much important and needed for the issues that Hindus are facing in the US and worldwide. To run campaigns and events and to educate our next generation about Hinduism and to make them feel proud of their heritage.
I'm Utsav Chakrabarti, the Executive Director for Hindu Pact, Hindu Policy Research and Advocacy Collective. We are here to secure the future for the next generation of American Hindus.
I'm Adele Nazarian, Director of Listener Outreach and Communications for Hindu Pact, and we are strong advocates for religious freedom and the U.S. Constitution. We thank you for your continued support.
We cannot do this without you. Namaste.
So that there was a problem with the syncing of the sound and the video. So if people want to watch this video, please go to hindupact.org. The video will be up today, and they can go to donate at hindupact.org/donate. Correct?
That's correct. So the if you go to the Hindu Pact Twitter account, which is at the rate Hindu Pact, it is up there on our pinned Twitter. We have it on our Facebook page, on the Hindu Pact Facebook page, as well as we will have it on our website today, Ajay Bhai. We are going to have it on the website. So
Right.
please go and donate to hindupact.org/donate, DONATE. When you do that, you will see the VHP America donation link come up, but it will, whatever you donate there will go to Hindu Pact. So please join us. And as you can see, the last 18 months has been a journey for us, but we have a lot of things going on. And if you are receiving our newsletters, you will know that we have a lot of things coming up. So thank you so much for supporting us, and we look forward to your support and help next year. hindupact.org/donate.
And so that, as always, our final segment is Hindu phobe or Hindu hater of the week. Do we have anyone?
So, Ajay Bhai, I wanted to discuss an event that happened over the week in on December 17th and up to December 19th, and I'm going to share the screen. We have been talking about it, and it's a very serious event that was largely overlooked by the Hindu community globally, uh, as well as mostly many Indians as well overlooked it. But it is really serious, and the reason I bring it up as the Hindu hater of the week is because it has serious implications for Hindus around the world over the next many years. So I'm going to share the screen. Uh, the Hindu hater of the week is a bunch of organizations in this time, and it starts with Al Jazeera Balkans, World Kashmir Awareness Forum, and the University of Sarajevo, because they co-sponsored an event. By the way, the World Kashmir Awareness Forum is led by a convicted Pakistani spy named Ghulam Nabi Fai, and Al Jazeera Balkans, along with the International University of Sarajevo, created and held a tribunal with the support of organizations like Permanent People's Tribunal and Russell Tribunal, which are very historical organizations that were otherwise involved in prosecuting tribunals for Vietnam as well as Afghanistan during the Cold War. So to have these formerly reputable organizations connect with blatantly anti-Hindu, anti-India organizations directly connected to Pakistani agencies, and have an event of this scale and magnitude in Sarajevo at the University of Sarajevo is not good. And therefore, all these organizations involved in this are the Hindu haters of the week. And this needs to be noted and talked about on behalf of Hindu Pact. Our leader on Kashmir issues, Mr. Sanjay Kaul, along with many other Kashmiri organizations, including GKPD, wrote to this tribunal showing the discomfort and the blatant lies that were being promoted in this event. The reason it is the Hindu hater of the week, especially, and Hindus need to really pay attention to this, because they get carried away with many other things that are happening on an everyday basis. But it is tribunals like this that put the seed of hatred that eventually grow into mass scale violence over a period of time, and it legitimizes terrorism to no end. So we did call this out. We hoped that other organizations would have called it out, but thanks to our team on Kashmir, as well as GKPD and few Kashmiri organizations who rose to the occasion on a very short notice and expressed their protest against this effort.
Hey, Utsada, I want to give you one bonus Hindu hater of the week that I came across after we talked yesterday. And Utsada, we know that the caste, a lot of attempt to for caste narrative to take a hold in US. You know about that. Equality Lab is at the forefront of it and all that. But and again, we are never for preference for one caste over the other. We don't want anyone to, we want equality, we want equity, and we want, we do not believe in discrimination of any kind. But when a video like this emerges from New Jersey, where little children are taught hatred, that is something that we should bring out. And this is a result of the movement that Periyar started in Tamil Nadu, and I'm going to see if I can. Let me restart this video. So this is the video where a in from New Jersey, where little children are taught to remove the sacred thread from a little boy, and it was done in Tamil Nadu in 1950s and 1960s, where they forcibly would cut off the long hair and the thread of traditionally, people who wore the threads and people who had the longer hair. And that is the community there, which is, again, these are the people who had them for centuries. They were not all always Brahmin by birth, and again, we don't believe in caste. We believe in varna, jati. But the people who traditionally, because of their family tradition, had these long hair or thread, and they were forcibly cut off. And this is teaching the children to do that in America, right here in New Jersey. So this is the era that we live in. Okay, and with that, we come to the end of our program today. This is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is brought to you by Hindu Pact. Hindu Pact is the policy research and advocacy collective of the World Hindu Council of America. We come live every Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern, and we bring to you the contemporary American Hindu issues and our unique take on contemporary American issues. We thank you for joining us. Once again, today we paid tribute to Dr. Mahesh Mehta, the founder of VHPA and inspiration behind a lot of Hindu organizations in North America, and one of the proponents of democracy in Bharat, and who actually fought for democracy in Bharat during the time of emergency. A winner of the Pravasi Bharati Award, but more importantly, winner of many, many millions of Hindu hearts across the world. With that, thank you again for joining us, and we will come back to you in the new year, because we will take the next 2 weeks off for the holidays. Thank you. Enjoy your holidays with your friends and family, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Utsada, any final words?
We'll see you in New Year, and do not forget to support us. Look out for our website, hindupact.org/donate, and we need your support. See what we are doing over the last 18 months, and we will be not proving you wrong in terms of our ability to do advocacy as well as policy research. So support us, and wish you a happy holidays.
And Utsada, as we always do at the end of this show, we always play a special music that is created for us by Decibel. We would like to do that, but I have been having a few technical difficulties today. But this is a very special tune that they've created. We will play that tune next time when we meet in the new year. Okay? Thank you, Utsada, and namaste, and wish you happy holidays to you and your family. And we'll see.
Thank you, and wish you a happy holidays for everybody. See you again next year, healthy and hearty. Take care.
All right. Thank you, Soda. Namaste and bye.
Namaste.